James has the mind of an 8-year-old. Every Christmas, he secretly delivers goodwill Christmas gifts to every house in his small town, but his good intentions raise suspicions with the town's newest police officer, who wrongly accused James of stealing. The officer confronted James, demanding to know where the gifts came from. Nervous, James just wanted to push his cart away and leave, but his nervousness made the officer even more certain he'd caught a thief. So, he arrested him, and locked him up at the station. Looking at the helpless James in the cell, the officer was beaming with pride, thinking this major arrest would fast-track him to a promotion. Well, the scared and crying James was quickly let go by the other officers. In fact, they treated him like an honored guest. They not only got him a burger but also let him sit with them to watch the football game. Meanwhile, the rookie officer who arrested James was stuck writing a report about the incident. He was then ordered to go with James and help him deliver the rest of the Christmas gifts. This wasn't because James had some powerful connections. The other officers in town knew that despite his adult appearance, James's intellectual ability remained that of a child. They couldn't believe someone like him would break the law. In fact, because of his disability and slower reactions, he often faced insults and disdain from others. Whenever that happened, James never fought back or even seemed bothered. He'd just go on with his day, pushing his cart to the football field to quietly watch the players practice from the sidelines. This was the highlight of his day, his only way to escape his worries and sadness. It seemed like this would be his quiet life forever. But a stray football changed everything. One day, a player accidentally kicked the football way out of bounds, and it landed right at James's feet. The players laughed and told him to pick it up. James did pick up the football, but he mistakenly thought it was a gift for him, and so, he simply put it away for himself. The player saw this and immediately told Coach Jones that James had taken their ball. Coach Jones just smiled. He didn't make a big deal out of it because he'd already noticed this kind-hearted young man who came to watch every day. If James loved football that much, why not let him have one? But the player nursing a grudge wasn't having it. The very next day he got some teammates together, cornered James, and locked him in the equipment shed. They kept banging a football against the door to scare him. Sensing something was off, Coach Jones went to tell the players to stop. That's when he heard faint crying from inside. He opened the door to find James, his hands and feet tied up, visibly terrified. Coach Jones calmly reassured him while carefully cutting the tape loose. Once free, James didn't even stop to thank him. All he wanted was to get away from that dark confined space as fast as possible. Coach Jones was furious. The idea that a group of strong athletes would bully someone with an intellectual disability was unacceptable. He decided then and there to teach them a lesson. So, when practice ended at noon, the 9 boys who had done wrong faced their punishment. Under Coach Jones's watch, they were made to run relentless sprints across the field. They started under the blazing sun, and kept going until their footsteps dragged through the sunset glow. They ran until they were exhausted, until their pleas for mercy grew hoarse. Only then did Coach Jones end the grueling drill, but punishing the players wasn't enough to make things right with the victim. Coach Jones felt he needed to apologize to James on behalf of the team. The next day, when James appeared outside the field again, Coach Jones moved to approach him. But before he could say anything, James held out the football to return it.
I don't want the football. I just want to tell you I'm sorry about what happened. I thought you needed to hear that from someone. No, I don't want the football. You keep it.
Perhaps because he felt responsible, Coach Jones decided to invite James to join the team as a helper. Despite the sincere invitation, James didn't respond. The fear from the shed was still too fresh. Although James gave no clear answer, later that day, when the team faced off against Baker High, his familiar figure was there on the sidelines. A hopeful look was plain to see in his eyes, and Coach Jones sensed his longing. The next day, as the team practiced under the sun, James showed up as usual. To reach out, Coach Jones specifically took a water bottle and told an assistant to take it over. But as the assistant coach approached carefully, James instinctively backed away. He also kept avoiding their questions about his name. Seeing this, the assistant coach simply placed the water in his cart, trying to show he meant no harm. When James finally let his guard down and drank the water, Coach Jones knew it was the perfect chance to connect. He didn't just renew his warm invitation for James to join the team with words, he followed it up by physically holding the gate open for him. But the problem was, even though James followed him onto the field, he still wouldn't give a definite answer. He wouldn't even tell Coach Jones his name, quietly fiddling with the radio in the office instead. Coach Jones figured he might need time to decide about joining a team that both attracted and scared him. So, he didn't push for an answer. Instead, he got James a burger and a Coke, kindly drove him home, and even gave him his own cherished radio as a gift. Following James's directions, Coach Jones arrived at his house and met his mother. When he brought up the idea of James being a team helper, his mother firmly said no. She was afraid her son would face bullying again. She explained that James wasn't intellectually disabled, his mind just worked at a different pace. The trauma from being picked on had stayed with him, and she wanted to shut out any chance of him getting hurt again. But when she saw how delighted James was with the radio, his face lighting up with a smile, her stance seemed to soften.
You get that from him?
Yeah. Cold, Joe.
He a nice man?
Yeah.
Seeing this kindness, his mother set her worries aside. She encouraged James to follow his heart and bravely pursue what he loved. With her support, James took the first step to change his life. He officially accepted Coach Jones's invitation and bravely for the first time stepped onto the field. Coach Jones then announced that James would be his new helper, instructing the players to treat him well and that there would be no more picking on him. The players agreed, but when the coach wasn't around, some started to play mean tricks, slapping a football out of his hands when he picked it up, or shoving him from behind. One player even tried to knock James over during a drill, but James effortlessly steadied himself and held his ground. Even though James sensed the ill will, he didn't get angry. He actually encouraged the player to try again. To fit in with the team, he worked hard to learn what every instruction meant. During practice, he went out of his way to help the players, offering them genuine praise and encouragement. During games, he became their cheerleader, rooting loudly from the sidelines. After each game, he kept careful records of what happened. Even though the Hannah High team lost their first 3 games, James's optimistic spirit kept the players from losing heart. They practiced even harder, and finally, they turned their luck around and won. There was no question that James had contributed to the win, but some members of the Parents Association chose to ignore it. They saw him only as a distraction and a joke because of his disability, claiming he hurt the team's focus and accusing Coach Jones of keeping him around for publicity. Even Coach Jones's own family didn't understand why he was so invested in a stranger, always going out of his way to help him, dedicating himself to integrating James into a normal life. He could shrug off the doubts from outsiders, but he couldn't ignore the questions from his own family. So, to help his daughter understand, he shared a secret he'd carried for 40 years. When he was 12, selling newspapers door to door, he witnessed a boy being abused by his stepfather. Frozen by fear, he did nothing, just watched helplessly from a distance. For the next 2 years, he passed that house daily checking on the boy. Each time, afraid of retaliation, he looked the other way. Then one day, the boy was killed by his stepfather. Coach Jones was filled with regret for his inaction. Now, here was James, struggling with life and in need of help. To make up for his past failure, Coach Jones was determined to see James through. His daughter was deeply moved by the story and became her father's steadfast supporter. Yet, the Parents Association remained unmoved. They pressured the principal to ban James from traveling to games, arguing his intellectual disability damaged the team's image. The principal supported Coach Jones, but rules were rules. An outsider couldn't ride the school bus. So, when the team left for the next game, James was left behind at school.
We're not gonna be able to take you on the bus today.
Huh?
Some folks, they don't think it's a good idea. They just don't understand yet, but they're gonna catch on, believe me. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'll see you tomorrow, okay?
As the school bus drove away in the rain, James felt hurt all over again. Deep down he sensed this was prejudice, but it couldn't extinguish his love for football. Even though he couldn't be there to cheer in person, he found another way to fight alongside the team. Listening to the game on his radio, he mimicked every play out in the rain, staying in sync with his team. The clearer his passion, the more unwavering his steps. He was like a pilgrim on an endless journey toward his ideal temple. But the storm of prejudice from others kept battering his faith, knocking it down again and again. Then, the radio announced the team had lost. In that moment, it was as if his very soul had been drained, and all his strength left him. The next day, Coach Jones took James out for a nice meal to make up for the hurt from the day before. He also had another surprise. For the next game, James would get to lead the team onto the field and soak in the cheers from the crowd. It was an honor James had never known, a pure joy he'd never experienced. But James got so excited that he accidentally blurted out the team's plays right in front of everyone. Coach Jones rushed to quiet him, but it was too late. The opposing coach had heard enough to adjust, adding 2 extra defenders which easily shut down their offense. Making things worse, the team, already struggling, was hit with a bad call from the referees during a defensive play. A penalty flag was thrown, forcing the defense to move back 15 yards. Coach Jones argued fiercely, but his outburst only earned the team another penalty, pushing them back another 15 yards. Then, James stepped forward and started yelling at the referee, calling him a biased referee. The consequence was yet another penalty, setting the team back a total of 45 yards. Unsurprisingly, the first half was a disaster. The team was completely overpowered, and the players sank into a collective slump. Johnny in particular was venting his frustration on the sidelines.
Any chance I can get the ball tonight?
Nobody speaks in this room unless Coach Jones says he does.
However, James misunderstood Johnny's anger. He picked up a football from the bench and earnestly offered it to him.
There you ball.
His innocent, simple gesture made the whole team burst out laughing, instantly cutting through the gloom of the loss. And here's the thing about James, he had a unique way of unintentionally lifting the team's spirit. After half